Alright, what's going on, guys? Nothing much. Hold on, let me get to my screen. I'm trying to do all this shit. Check this out. If you guys don't know this homepage, you guys should really learn this damn page. Not homepage, but really just this page. As you know, I had the MegaSquirt plug and play unit for the KA, and I just sold that, shipped that off to Georgia. Eric Wood, he's got it. His brother, I remember Preston, I had helped them with the tune. Sent them with my tune, they said they put it in and the car turned right up, and you know, they were happy, so I just sent that to him. It was kind of sad. I wish I could have used this ECU with my car, but I couldn't. So anyhow, when you go here, you start going here, the MegaSquirt assembled a nice unit. And then now you got the MS3, so a faster processor, a 16 by 16 fuel and timing maps. The timing map on the MS2 only goes to 12 by 12. Not that really big of a deal if you map out your X and Y coordinates correctly or even efficiently. So I was looking at this. They have different units, you know. This one is, you know, basically this unit then by itself. Then this MS comes with this expansion board in it. So I don't even know why you wouldn't buy this. I mean, you would buy that. You would want to buy this one. And then this peak and hold driver set, that's if you're going to go with low impedance injectors. There's two ways you can go about it. Like with the stock ECUs, those were high impedance injectors, so if you threw low impedance, you would have to put a resistor box on there, which you can get from an Eclipse or an Accord or whatever. The issue with low impedances is with the opening and closing of the actual pin needle, it affects idle. I could say, you know, I had low impedance Delphi 1600s. I did have a slight, somewhat, actually, let me do this. There you go. Yeah, I had a slight, somewhat, like, kind of you know, like up and down. It wasn't like a steady. I did get it to go steady once it was like idling around like 1100 or so. But then also had the cams in there, plus, you know, a lot of different stuff. But anyhow, when you're, oh yeah, so with that, that's what those peak and holds are for the low impedance, and they help out whichever. But when you're going high impedance, you won't need it if you go with this MS unit. So this MS unit, it's right there, 659, and then it has all the bells and whistles that we will need. You know, if you go, start looking, you know, the VE, they're, you know, 16 by 16. Just with the VE table, 1%, I guess, yeah, 0.1 percent on the changing. I guess when you're tuning, it'll be like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, rather than some of the older, less contemporary, mediocre units. They just go by either 0.5 or, you know, let's say even just a full percent. So, you know, that's good, so you can kind of tweak it. You know, you're kind of looking, which is pretty cool for this onboard SD card, for data logging. That'd be nice. So let's say if you have it in the car, well, I would, you know, I don't have this unit, but I would like to research and test it, because if it were to create a file each time you start and then automatically erase the old file once the card gets full, that would be pretty cool. Because there's been some instances when I was driving, you know, the KA, and you know, something crazy might have happened. Of course, I wasn't data logging at the time, so when I tried reproducing it, it wouldn't happen. So that's a good thing that I'm looking at that onboard. Built-in USB. I'm guessing that's you know, for the tuning. Well, actually, no, not guessing. It is for the tuning. So you don't need no serial adapter port. That's, you know, cool. GM separate IAC control. What do you call it? Basically, which I probably ended up using. I didn't have an auto air control valve on my KA because I had the what's that thing called? The Godspeed excessive, you know, imitation intake. and I didn't put the adapter for the outdoor control valve. I just, you know, tuned the throttle. Like on the throttle, there's a little needle to hold it open. So the GM stepper would be nice to have. Closed loop idle and mixture control, that's standard as MS2. Stage injection, you know, CAN bus. Those are kind of, what do you call it, kind of the same things. So now this expansion board, this is the reason why I needed to sell the ECU originally, because that one only had 4 ports, you know, for, you know, spine. And, you know, I probably maybe could have cleaned up the harness, or maybe did something to, you know, use like 6-cylinder, but then no, because then I'm thinking about the whole thing with the firing of the ignition. But anyways, that's totally out the question. MS2's gone. But still, look, you got 8 sequential fuel injection, and it says it could drive a high impedance injector. And then what's good about, I like about MegaSquirt 2 is when you like it says, you know, when you have unused injection outputs, can be used for other purposes. They have tables in there, like what I did for the WLAD. I grounded out a switch, a relay that turned on my fan. So that's how I incorporated the ECU to control my fan. That was it basically grounded off a wire, and then that based on the coolant temp of the motor. So different parameters that you can set it on. Let's say with 8 logic 5-volt input, whatever, you guys are reading it. But anyhow, this is what you're using LSX IGNs. The LSX Maxima coils, 350 coils, pencil coils, a lot of those have built-in igniters. So that's what we're calling a smart coil. So all it is going to use this 5-volt ignition output. So when that 5-volt, what do you call it, hits, I think I don't know if it's either when it holds it or when it lets go, it sparks off the ECU. I mean, not the ECU, the coil. So this one has 8. So if you guys are going with this, you want to get smart coils because it makes sense. Because if you don't, then you got to use the quad spark. But this is all new technology. Why are you gonna go back? That's like this damn country right now with freaking politics. But anyways, regardless of that, we got 6 medium current outputs. You know, you see all of this. I'll be using boost control. Tack output, yes, and then that's that 3-wire, I guess, for other, you know, types. But then let's see what else. I don't know, but mostly I'll be using it for boost control, and yeah, that. Then you got your analog inputs, you know, map sensor. I'll go with the Big Daddy map sensor, O2. One of the other things that I gotta see, oh, here goes, probably in here, where you got your 4 switch inputs. You know, nitrous, I will use it for launch control, and vehicle speed. Oh no, I don't need that. That's gonna be, you know, using the, well, maybe I could use this if I use the vehicle speed input or speed sensor input. I wonder if I use that with the 350Z back end housing, diff, because that has, what I was reading, it has teeth on the wheels, sort of like ABS, that's where it's knowing, it gets your vehicle speed from. So that's something I could play with later. 1 CAN sensor input, that's easy, simple as that. And this is the thing, it's so awesome. You just, you know, order that guy, and then, what do you call it, once we go here, let's go back to this page, I will order I'm trying to think which one I'll maybe need. I don't know if it's, you know, this one or this one, but I don't need like a 2-foot long pigtail. You know, 10 should be fine, because I'm trying to get the harness from the VQ, get that out, and then wire that into, like, you know, basically all the wires that come from the motor that I need, I'll bring that in through the firewall. Or even I might do like, you guys all heard of Beer Can, S13, he was a member on KAT. He ended up, he had KA in his car. He went to Road Atlanta. He was at DIY's meet, and he ended up having some engine failure at the track when they were on the track doing their little pass or something. It was pretty cool. But he ended up getting rid of all of that, and he went LS. So then when he did LS, he did these connectors onto the firewall. So basically, when he wants to pull the motor, he just pulls this one wire, you know, like a harness. It's a plug that sits between the firewall that plugs in. He just pulls that out, and then bam, he could just pull out the whole motor. He don't have to, you know, do like us where we gotta unplug everything from the motor and then put it to the side and then pull the motor out. So that's something that I, you know, may do. Depends. I don't know. I haven't got that far, but I would like that functionality. But anyhow, yeah. So this is, you know, I really love this shit because with this ECU for this price, you get to control everything. You know, yeah, you got your AEMs and you know Motex. You know, that's all money. You know, so then you got your MS3 Pro, and that MS3 Pro can go and control all sorts of stuff. You know, they have, I don't know if this one has it. That's what I got to figure out. But you know, with the MS3 Pro, you've probably seen the Supra, that it uses launch retard. You know, it does launch control, but when it takes off, it does reduces the timing in order to keep traction. So you have things like that. Also, they also have the incorporation of traction control. And so with that, what I read is it looks off the speed of the drive shaft in relation to the speed of you know, your wheels. I don't know if it was the front wheels or back, I don't know, but that's, you know, something. So it's just pretty cool that you can get these units, you know, for a really good price. You know, because I remember we were getting the Grady E manages, and those were like $500 just for a piggyback. And then when you're tuning with those, you don't even know what you're doing, or you're paying like $250 for a Super AFC that's only controlling fuel, and it's you know, changing up your V, was it on Nissan, what do they call that shit, your T table or TA, I forget. It was basically trying to say you're like somewhere on this map. But yeah, with all those, it might, you know, in order to add fuel, you're tricking the computer to thinking that this much air, well, really this much air is coming in. And so what happens is on the timing, it changes you on the timing table as well. So when that happens, you know, you don't even know where your damn timing is, and so you blow motors and whatever the case. But anyhow, hopefully I got some updates coming soon. Alright, so I wanted to add one thing I forgot to put on that video, as it's kind of getting updated. But anyhow, with the peak and hold drivers, to buy that extra box is $299, so $300, right? Yeah, you can get low impedance, you know, cheaper, but then you're gonna have to buy that box, or you can use resistors, but you know, kind of whatever. I don't know. Buy the high impedance injectors, and yeah, you're gonna probably spend about an extra $200 to $300 for high impedance, like 2,000 cc's or higher. But just do that, and rather than buying the peak and hold box, I'll put that money towards the injectors. I mean, you understand what I'm kind of saying, but I really want to tune with some high impedance and see what difference there is, because when I would cruising like 45 or so, you would see the, I mean, maybe I was doing about 2,000 RPMs or something, but the air fuel ratio, it would, you know, like be like 15.5 or whatever. Then all of a sudden, like, dip down to not 15.5. I think, I don't know, maybe let's just say 14.7. It would probably drop down to like 13.8 for like a blip, and then come back up. So I don't know. There's a term, I think it's tau. I think it is. I don't know. I remember reading one of these books, but it's when the fuel actually floods on top of either the piston or on the floor of the intake chamber, and once that, you know, kind of builds up, then it pulls in that fuel, and it, you know, probably that's what my issue was. But I don't know if it was you know, the low versus high, but I still want to play with it and see. And then the other thing too, I was tuning this dude's car, you know, helping him out last weekend, and someone played on his car after I had touched it. And he went and they had the fucking fuel at 20 psi. Now 20 psi on carbureted, I still think that might even be too much. I don't know. The only thing I've turned carbureted was the freaking lawnmower and whatever. But anyhow, yeah, you know, when you go with the high, you know, the bigger injectors, so you know you got a bigger opening, you want to have more fuel pressure. So you know, stock is 43 without vacuum. I put mine up usually at 50 without vacuum, so at idle there's more pressure, so it actually helps build up pressure inside, and when the nozzle opens of the injector, it'll spray, so better atomization. I actually worked that theory out when I was first tuning, because I remember I was getting some shitty idle AFRs, and I had it like, you know, at the stock 43, which I think is 32 with vacuum on. And no matter what I did, when I actually reduced the fuel pressure, it got richer. Oh, what the hell? So then I went and I increased the fuel pressure, and then that was when I started to see that it was starting to clean up the AFRs and the idles. And the reason why is because the atomization, you know, was able to spray into smaller droplets, so it would mix with the air, and then it hits with the fire and whoosh, get a more efficient burn. But yeah, that's that whole, you know, you can read up on it, you know, atomization, and you know, if you really just think of it, it's kind of like little common sense if you kind of just think of molecules and, you know, how they'll start working together and mixing. But regardless, that's it. So that was the whole thing. High impedance injectors is the way to go, and I will test this theory out once I get the car running, and if I have good results, I'll report back. All right.